Here's what Splatoon 3 needs to be successful. Even though I'm sure the game will be successful without this stuff, this is more of a wish list. Part 1. Obvious stuff that's pretty much guaranteed, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. New stuff. New weapons, new maps, new clothes, new songs. So far they've only shown a bow and arrow type main weapon and a couple of new special weapons, so there's most likely even more new stuff they haven't shown yet. And at least one of every weapon from the previous game should be available from the start. I don't want to have to wait 4 months to play Hydra Splatling. That was stupid. And ideally, eventually, each weapon class should have at least 4 different versions with different subs and specials. I'm not doing an in-depth trailer breakdown because everyone has already done one. There's a billion of them. They're all great. Just pick one. But from the looks of things, the specials look to be more powerful than the specials from Splatoon 2. Splatoon 1 specials were wacky fun and very unbalanced, and Splatoon 2 specials all felt like watered-down versions of the ones from the first game. Probably because they wanted Splatoon 2 to be the Switch's big esport, which, I mean, they sort of follow through on. Nintendo hosted some tournaments. There was the Koshin League that was in the baseball stadium, I think. But it looks like the Splatoon 3 specials are going back to being wacky and powerful. Not saying that the game will be unbalanced. You can have wacky, powerful specials and have the game be pretty balanced. Just don't give the 96 gal Kraken again. That's all you have to do. Old stuff. Bring back as much content from the previous 2 games. Ideally, all the weapons, all the clothes, the songs from the previous 2 games, and all the maps from the first 2 games. I'm sure there's a small subset of competitive tournament players who would say, no, there's too many maps. I can't learn them all. But to that I say, I don't think the amount of content in a game should be hampered by what would only benefit a few people. Basically, more stuff is better. Return of Splatfest with new temporary maps. Ideally, you could have the option to play ranked modes in Splatfest because honestly, I don't play a lot of Turf War, so Splatfest would come around and I just couldn't play certain modes for an entire day or an entire weekend. That's dumb. Better single player mode with an actual story. Return of the Return of the Memory Glands campaigns looks like an actual story with cutscenes, but I remember thinking the exact same thing about Splatoon 2's hero mode before it came out, and let me tell ya, Splatoon 2's hero mode sucks! It sucks! There's a story at the beginning, Callie's missing, and a story at the end, we found her, and nothing in between. It's terrible. I hated it the first time I played it, so imagine my surprise when you had to play every level 9 times to unlock all the hero weapons. If Splatoon 3's hero mode is a third glorified tutorial, I'm gonna poop myself. A better way to do it would be have like a 5-minute dedicated tutorial for each weapon type separate from the story mode. They should take the good parts of hero mode being, the characters, and the good parts of Octo Expansion being actual good gameplay and good music, and add in some new stuff, and boom, good single player. Semi-frequent balance patches so the meta doesn't get too stale, and more frequent weapon updates. When Splatoon 1 first came out, some days I'd randomly turn the game on and there'd be a new weapon, and since it was all new stuff since Splatoon was brand new, it was exciting. I mean, a lot of the stuff was already on the game disc, but I'd randomly turn the game on and be like, oh cool, new stuff. In Splatoon 2, at first every Friday there was a new weapon, but most of the time it'd be weapons from the previous game, so some weeks it just wasn't exciting. Sorry if I'm not ripping off my pants in celebration for the return of the range blaster, you know? And then they switched from weekly updates to 4 weapons a month, which makes sense since it would line up with the monthly ranked map rotation, but I personally thought it was a less exciting way to do it. So I would have new weapons be introduced like 2-3 days per week because I'm willing to bet that a lot of the new weapons introduced will just be existing variations of old weapons from the previous games. Part 2. Stupid bullshit from the previous game that they should have already fixed. Why wasn't this stuff ever fixed? You know, a couple years ago I made 2 videos, one right before Splatoon 2 came out and one a little bit afterwards. Please don't watch them, they're not very good. One of them I used the wrong microphone for the first minute and just didn't bother to re-record that section. But in both videos I listed things that I thought could improve the game, and a lot of that stuff was either added or got patched in later. Maybe they watched my video, in which case, you're welcome. So to the game's credit, here's all the stuff that was added or fixed. Easier to play with your friends on a Splatfest team, can change equipment in the lobby between matches without having to leave, playable Octo links, overall improvements to the Splatnet 2 app. After a salmon run, you spawn right outside. So thank you, Nintendo, for adding that stuff. However, there are many glaring issues that never got fixed. Y'all already know what the biggest one is. Skip the news. This is one of the worst design decisions I've ever seen. You don't want to inconvenience or annoy the player as soon as they turn the game on every single time they turn the game on. What other game makes you mash the A button for a minute before you can actually start playing? People were complaining about the news in Splatoon 1, so imagine my surprise when they made the news even longer in Splatoon 2. Here's an idea. How about you only have a news report when there's actual news to report, like updates, a new weapon, an upcoming Splatfest, or just have a skip button. That's all you need to do. 9 times out of 10, all the news does is show you the stages and you have to wait through the same jokes over and over. Every time I turn the game on, I'm pissed off, which is usually something you want to avoid when making a video game. It's stupid! Stupid, stupid, stupid! The next point only affects streamers and tournament players, but considering this is the only game where this is an issue, room codes. If you want to play in a private battle with someone, you have to have them on your Switch friends list, or at least be friends with someone already in that private battle room. Splatoon is an 8-player game, so you have to add up to 7 people as friends. The problem with this is that if you're playing on a stream where people are rotating in and out, you have to add dozens of people as a friend, and the Switch adds friends very slowly since you can only do so one at a time. And if you're playing in a tournament, something Nintendo wants to do more of, you have to contact the other team through Discord or Battlefy and be like, hey, what's your friend code? The really baffling part about this is that this is literally the only game ever where you have to do this. Every other game except Splatoon will have a code that people can type in through the game and join people like that without having to add them as a friend. Animal Crossing has dodo codes. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which has 12 players, can do it through tournaments. Monster Hunter lobbies have a room code. Smash Bros lobbies have room codes. Pokemon has room codes. Pokemon is terrible, and even Pokemon has it. This is unacceptable. This Nintendo attitude of, tee-hee, we don't understand how online works, whoops, is not acceptable, considering that A, this is your 3rd console with online, 4th if you include Phantasy Star Online on the GameCube, and B, you are charging extra money for your online service. Charging extra for this. Design decisions like this annoy the shit out of me and make me not want to play your game and make me not want to stream your game. How many hours of my life have I wasted accepting friend requests? Answer, too fucking many.
Oh, I want to play with viewers. Now I have to accept several dozen friend requests, one at a time. Oop, my friends list is full. Now I have to delete people, one at a time. Now I can accept more people, one at a time. It's stupid! Stupid, stupid, stupid!
Easily visible multiplayer game stats. I want to see more stats on the victory screen. There's so much dead space because your character just dances around on half the screen. Some stats are visible only through the phone app, but not in the game, and other stats are visible through talking to Callie in the single player zone after you beat single player. What the fuck? Why can't I see all these stats like last 50 battles, salmon run performance, stage win percentage, only in the app, but not in the game? Anything that's easily visible in the app should be easily visible in the game and vice versa. This is a no-brainer. Speaking of private battles, more options. Have a mode where people can just use whatever subs and specials, whatever gear abilities they want. Have a mode where you can just dick around with people so they don't do it during an actual match. Dedicated ranked lobbies for each ranked battle mode, or at the very least a second ranked room in rotation so it's more likely that I can play what mode I want to play. If my favorite mode is Splat Zones, and I turn on the game wanting to play Splat Zones, I don't have to wait 2 to 6 hours and play Clan Blitz instead. Quick play mode, like many other games have, where you can quickly jump into a random ranked map and mode and play, but it won't affect your rank at all. It's a good way of practicing with other weapons. Recon any map and mode whenever you want at any time, not just the ones that are in rotation. You get medals from League Battle, they don't do anything. Give them some type of a purpose, even if it's something as simple as wearing them on your clothes in the game. Ability to save loadouts without having to use an amiibo. Why is this feature locked behind an amiibo? A bigger, better training area. This one is entirely too small and doesn't offer enough. The fastest moving target is slower than swimming. Plus, you should be able to experiment with different amounts of abilities and stuff to see how they all work instead of having to back out, go into your gear, and go back in. A better gear system in general. 60 chunks to fill in 3 slots on one piece is way too many. Artificial gameplay lengthener. Maybe if you could purchase chunks, it will be better. And to that end, stuff to spend your money on. After you buy all the weapons and gear, there's virtually nothing to spend your cash on except scrubbing. A music frequency toggle like Smash Bros has. There are some songs in Splatoon that are certified bangers, and other songs that I never want to hear again for the rest of my life. Salmon Run open all the time. They did fix the schedule so that's only closed for 6 hours every day and a half. Around the initial launch, there were periods where it'd be closed for like 2 days at a time. But regardless, if I want to play a mode, I should be able to play that mode. The game shouldn't artificially decide, nope, not right now. Part 3. Cool stuff that won't be added because fuck you. dedicated servers for online play. I'm making myself laugh already. A higher tick rate. For those who don't know, a tick rate is basically how often consoles communicate with each other online, usually several times per second. For a game involving bullets moving at high speeds, Splatoon 2 has a really slow tick rate for a shooting game, even slower than Splatoon 1's. A replay mode like Mario Kart 8 or Smash Bros has, where you can move the camera around and review battles after they happen. Maybe make a cool montage out of it, since many content creators like to do that. I don't know, maybe make it easier for people to promote your game for free? A better photo mode that doesn't rely on amiibo. Why is this feature locked behind amiibo? This would pair great with a dick around with friends mode. Amiibo support for non-Splatoon amiibo. Maybe something like the suits in Mario Kart 8. Both Splatoon games have amiibo boxes in their plazas. Why is it only compatible with Splatoon amiibo? People like crossovers. Have you ever heard of Smash Brothers? Because you're in it! But Mr. Spaceman, what if the abilities on the amiibo gear suck? Well, I'm glad you brought that up because the next game should have layered armor. Splatoon 2 made it so that you could order gear with different abilities than they normally have through the plaza if someone is wearing it, or through the app, but there'd only be a few things in rotation, and you could only order one thing at a time, and then maybe what you'd order wouldn't be correct. No! That's too many steps! I want to be able to easily have the look of one thing and the abilities of something else. Monster Hunter does it, a lot of other games do it, it should be here too. Crossovers with other games and stuff. Splatoon 1 had a crossover with an anime called Squid Girl, Splatoon 2 had some Splatfest themed crossovers, and one with a research lab I think, and that was it. Unless you count the stuff you'd get from Japanese 7-Eleven, what the fuck? What if, whenever a new Nintendo game comes out, you could wear the character's outfit in Splatoon? Like when Metroid Dread came out, you could wear Samus's Dread armor in Splatoon. Boom, easy promo. The crossover I'd like to see the most that people have been asking for the past 7 years now. Flood from Mario's Sunshine as a weapon. Shadow Mario's Paintbrush as a weapon. Delfino Plaza as a playable map. Serena Beach as a Salmon Run map to reference that one Mantis Storm level that references The Shining? Congratulations, Nintendo, you played yourself. You re-released Mario Sunshine last year on the Switch, so people know what that game is now. You can't keep ignoring it. A stage builder using assets from the single-player mode that you can play on in private battles, similar to how the custom Splatfest maps are made. I know that part of Splatoon's audience is younger kids, so, oh no, that would be too complicated. No, kids are a lot smarter than you'd think. If they can figure out Minecraft and Roblox and Game Builder Garage, they can easily figure out a 3D stage builder. Any sort of split-screen multiplayer mode, like literally every other shooting game ever made has? Split screen Salmon Run, Turf War with bots, co-op and single player, something. If I want to show an IRL friend Splatoon, I can't. They have to watch me play and then hand them the controller, and even in Turf War, they'd have to fight against other level 100 people. Also, 2-player split screen online like Mario Kart 8 and so many other games have. A competitive Salmon Run versus mode where your team competes on an identical map as another team of 4, and you try to get as many eggs in as possible. A third playable species like a salmon inkling or jellyfish. This will probably be DLC. No more region locked gear. Like, what the fuck? Part 4 of what Splatoon 3 needs. A hook. aka literally any reason to buy the game? Look, hopefully this is the part of the video that ages super poorly, because obviously they've only shown 2 trailers, and the game doesn't come out until next year, so I'm sure there's more stuff in the game they haven't revealed yet. For Splatoon 2, Salmon Run wasn't even shown at all until 3 months before the game came out, but I can only go off of what we've seen, and from what we've seen from these 2 trailers, this only looks like more Splatoon, which isn't inherently a bad thing, but to explain my point, we need to talk about game design and sequels. When making a sequel, you don't just want to keep iterating, you need to innovate. And what I mean by that is, you don't just want to do the new version of what you did last time, you want to do something completely fresh, original, and unexpected to hook new people in. There needs to be some type of drive to get people to want to make this purchase and invest their time into it. You don't want people to think, why wasn't this an update? Why wasn't this just DLC? Especially when the new game is on the same console as the previous game. Being the new version on the next console is often enough reason reason to get people to buy a new game, because when people get new consoles, they want to fill out their game library. But Splatoon 3 isn't on a new console, as far as I know. It's on the same console as Splatoon 2, a game that has sold over 12 million copies, but isn't played all that much anymore. You may have noticed increased wait times or broken lobbies if you've been playing recently. So why would people get a slightly different version of a game they have but don't play? And I'm obviously not including like mega Splatoon fans and competitive players who will absolutely get Splatoon 3. You could slap the word Splatoon on a piece of garbage and they'd probably still buy it. But I know plenty of people who have Splatoon 2 and enjoyed Splatoon 2, but they had their fill, and this new game essentially looks like more of the same, so why would they get it? And me included. I played Splatoon 1 for like 600 hours. I've played Splatoon 2 for like 1500 hours. They're great games, but I've had my fill. I've never been big into shooting games in the first place, and I see the Splatoon 3 trailers and I'm like, oh, it's pretty much more of the same. They're changing things up a little bit with a new location and new special weapons, but it functionally looks all the same. And when making sequels, you can't exclusively appeal to the core audience because they'll filter out over time, and that's how series die. Remember Golden Sun? No, you don't, because the last game came out damn near 14 years ago. Did you know that Captain Falcon from Smash Bros. Had his own game series at one point? The last console one was on the GameCube. It was a great game with a very niche audience. There hasn't been one since. Remember Wario Land? Remember Star Fox? Remember Punch-Out? Remember Nintendogs? Remember Kid Icarus? Remember Earthbound? Remember Rhythm Heaven? Remember Advance Wars? Remember Excitebike? Remember Mario Strikers? Remember Wii Sports? I'm not saying Splatoon is currently at risk of being cancelled or shelved, but no Nintendo series is invincible either. You've got your core audience who are more or less guaranteed to buy the game, but then there's two other groups of people you want to at least attempt to appeal to. People who grew tired of Splatoon 2 and people who have never played a Splatoon game in the first place. And from what we've seen so far, I'm not sure how many people are gonna be like,
I grew tired of Splatoon 2, but they added a bow and arrows, so I'm definitely hopping back in. No games have bow and arrows. What an original idea.
Or,
well, I've never played Splatoon before, but now it's got crabs, so I'm all in.
Again, if Splatoon 3 were on a new console, this would be a lot easier. And I know shooting games typically get more frequent sequels than most other genres. Call of Duty Shoot 'em Man used to get sequels literally every year. So how do other games draw on people with their sequels? Well, one thing is that story-based games will have a continuation of the story from the previous game, and often with new mechanics. Halo 2 followed Mr. Master Chief after the events of Halo 1. Splatoon is not a story-based game featuring iconic protagonists, so there's very little story to actually continue. I don't know, you don't want players to be like, well, I like Callie and Marie, but I'll just watch the cutscenes on YouTube. A better way to expand the audience is to introduce new mechanics. Other than new special weapons, the only new mechanic we've seen in gameplay is getting hairy and throwing little buddy. Okay. Halo 2 added more weapons, more vehicles, and online multiplayer. Before you could only play locally. You see, an expanded project scope like that is a good way to entice new players. I'm not saying Splatoon needs to be Breath of the Wild size. I mean, I don't think anyone would complain about that either. But how about an actual story-driven campaign? Is this a city I can explore? Or just a background and I'm gonna be breaking boxes on floating platforms for a third time in a row like it's fucking Donkey Kong? It looks like there might be cool new big stuff, but again, if you don't get your hopes up, you can't be disappointed. And an expanded project scope should be applicable to multiplayer too. And I'm not just talking about more weapons and maps and music, because that's just iteration, the next version of what you've already done. Innovation is putting cool new stuff that makes even the casual viewer think, this is clearly the best Splatoon game by far, and I should get it. I'll give you a bunch of ideas for free. Venmo me later. New multiplayer modes, and I'm not just talking about,
oh, a new ranked battle mode. Clan Blitz 2, now it's rugby.
How about like a big team battle where it's 6v6 or 8v8 or 10v10 or 4v4v4v4 mode on a big ass maps with turrets and vehicles and shit. Put the vehicles in Splatoon 3. Put the Warthog in Splatoon 3. What if there's a mode where you collect parts from around the map and build a vehicle or something with it and do stuff with it, all while dodging the other team's stuff? Put in a battle royale mode. No, it won't work with Splatoon's fast kill times, but people seem to like those games. Put in Ariana Grande teamed up up with the squid girls in a Splatfest? I don't know. Loud people online seem to want apartments you can decorate in the game, even though Animal Crossing already exists. What if you could host a private battle, and while you're on the waiting screen, the other players could hang out in your apartment until the match started? That would be fun. It would give you something to actually spend your in-game money on. A skate park minigame, Tony Hawk Pro Squitter. I personally thought that would be a cool idea for a spin-off Splatoon game to expand the franchise, rather than
Regular Splatoon again. Oh boy, more turf wars.
I'm just spitballing ideas here, alright? Hopefully there's a bunch more stuff they haven't shown yet in Splatoon 3. Not saying that Splatoon 3 looks bad without it. Honestly, I think it'll be the best Splatoon game yet. But lots of times, the best quality game in a series doesn't always sell the best. I'm just not very hyped, and honestly, a little concerned. Splatoon has a reputation for making kind of stupid game design decisions, see part 2, and only sometimes fixing them later. One of the biggest problems I've had with this series' design is that you have to play the game their way, not play the game your own way. But that's a video for another day. Also, we never even got the octa weapons. Did people forget about that? I didn't forget. They're in the game. We just never got them. But anyways, in conclusion, make Splatoon 3 Halo. Jokes aside, I'm not saying you need to reinvent the wheel. I'm saying finish the car you've been building. This might be the first time where a Splatoon game will have a regular development and release cycle. The first game was released early because Star Fox 0 out of 10 got delayed, and Splatoon 2 also got released early to come out in the first year of the Switch, which I'm sure is why Hero Mode sucked big donkey balls this time around. An Octo expansion, an actual original idea, didn't come out until a year later. I know that many Splatoon devs also work on Animal Crossing, but considering it's been almost 2 years since Animal Crossing came out, and 4 going on 5 years since Splatoon 2 came out, hopefully they were finally able to take their time and release a full game with Splatoon 3 instead of rushing a functional product out and updating it later. But we'll see. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more Splatoon and more videos on other games. Sorry for being a little pessimistic in this video. I really do hope that the game is good and that it performs well so that we'll get more games after this one. Comment below with what you're looking forward to in Splatoon 3, and that's it. Video's over.